You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
AfterBuzz TV presents Chatting with Cathy. Sit-down interviews with Hollywood's leading actors, artists, and entrepreneurs. And now, your host of Chatting with Cathy, Cathy Kelly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chatting with Cathy right here on AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Cathy Kelly, and today's guest has opened up for so many artists, from Liz Phair, Gin Blossoms, to Counting Crows, to Michelle Branch, just to name a few. And your newest album, Prism, I loved all the songs off of. So great. Malea, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Malea.
Malea. Sorry. Malea. So what is that name? Is it Korean?
It's actually Tahitian.
Okay.
You know, and
That's cool.
everyone usually thinks it's Hawaiian because
Okay.
I think Malea.
Yeah.
Yep. It means lotus.
Cool.
I think.
And your parents are Irish and Korean?
Korean and Irish.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So did you have like any of those traditions growing up, like Korean traditions, or not at all?
No, I actually grew up with my grandmother, my step grandmother, who was Norwegian, and things were more Norwegian and Scandinavian in our house than anything.
Really?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. It was modge podge of everything.
Okay.
So.
And both of your parents were actually in the armed forces. They were
Not my mother.
Not your mother. Okay.
Just my father.
Your father was, and you were born in Texas, right?
Yes.
So was it like a stricter household when you were living with them?
No. I mean, it was. I only lived with them till I was 5.
Okay.
And then I went to live with my grandparents.
Yeah.
So it was actually not a great household to live in.
Really?
So that's why I went to live with my grandparents.
Where did your grandparents live?
Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then they were very. I mean, my grandmother is still alive. She's 88.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a very strict Catholic upbringing, which was probably good in some ways for certain things. And so.
What was it like living in Long Island when you were that young?
You know, I think it's what you know.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just being a kid and, you know, and playing and having friends. And I think the traditions you grow up with, that's just kind of what you know, and that's what you're used to. So, you know, I was very lucky to go and live with them when I was little.
Cool. And I know you did Broadway later on in your career, but did you ever go see any shows when you were growing up?
No, I actually didn't. We're not a musical house.
Okay.
And sorry, it sounds like it's very serious, but
No.
it was kind of, they were very strict. And
Yeah.
so we didn't see any shows. We really didn't do anything. I think the first show I ever really saw was Les Mis.
Okay. And how
And
old
that
were you?
wasn't until I was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it like a field trip in high school or
Yeah.
something?
I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And opened up a whole new world. Came to the city.
So I know that you didn't get into music until you were in high school. So
Yeah.
what were some of your hobbies before that?
I ran track, played soccer, played some piano a little bit, but never practiced. And, you know, I was a real tomboy.
Yeah.
And I just did a lot of sports. I was
Lot of
really into sports. And I sang in the church choir.
Really?
Yeah.
At what age?
Probably till maybe I was like 10 or 11.
Okay. So
into
there's a
high
little
school.
music in your life when you were younger?
You know what? It was very separate from my
Okay.
home. It was kind of, we went to church every Sunday and we sang in the choir, but there were lots of not very musical people who
Yeah.
sang in the choir, so it didn't seem like it was a very musical thing. But yeah.
You have a couple people who are tone deaf and
Yeah, it was really not, yeah.
they
but
let anyone in.
I just like to sing. I sang,
Yeah.
always from the time I was little, and everyone said, would you please be quiet, you know, until later on, you know.
Yeah.
It was very different.
So when you did go into high school and started getting to music, who was the one that really got you into it?
my high school music teacher, who I still write to, who I actually just wrote a note to, and she lives in Florida.
Really?
And I always credit her with, really taking the time to encourage me and push me into music. I never would have done it without that help. And that's why teachers are so important. Yeah. And they really can change your life, because I don't know if I ever would have gone into music without her. Yeah.
Was that when you realized that you wanted to pursue it as a career, or was it just still a hobby at that point?
I think, she pushed me to go to Manhattan Prep School Music on Saturdays. So I started taking the train in, and that was a whole new world, going into New York City. And then I think as I was doing that, it started to, oh, wow, I'm good at this, or I can do that, and you start to get a lot of encouragement, and it just, and that's when I really felt like, wow, this is all I want to do. Yeah.
And it was predominantly singing at that, like all vocal at that point, or was it instruments?
Oh, yeah, it was
as well?
opera. Okay. I was singing opera and Broadway songs,
Yeah. So what were some of your favorite musicals when you did get to finally watch them?
Finally watched them on Broadway.
Yeah.
Well, the show I was in was The King and I, and that had been a favorite of mine. I always loved Sound of Music. I loved Annie.
Yeah.
Loved Annie. I was always
Classics.
Annie. What else? Let's see. Trying to think. What other like musicals? I'm just trying to think.
I mean, there's so many.
Right? There's so many. All of a sudden, there's so many. All of a sudden,
now
I can't
there's like all
remember
the
any.
Disney ones. Annie, Get Your Gun. Like,
well, now it's like we have Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Now there's Spider-Man the musical. What?
I don't know. I haven't heard any of the music yet. So I think it's U2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that did the music for it. I mean, now it's like they're making a movie first and then the musical. Yeah. I just saw Book of Mormon.
Really? Did you like it?
It was very funny. I'm glad, though, I didn't get my in-laws tickets for it, though.
Oh, my God.
Because I almost did that, and I had no idea what the show... I mean, it's from the creators of South Park, so have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
So you know what I mean.
It's raunchy.
It's pretty raunchy, and I saw there were some older couples, and I saw them going, I was like, oh, boy, I was really glad. Check it out before you get anyone tickets first,
Yeah.
Depends.
So your musical training really took you all over. You went to, as you said, you were in Manhattan, you were in Chautauqua, you went to Oberlin. Just what was the stages or the progressions of these?
Well, first I went to Tanglewood after I graduated. I left the day after graduation, went right to Tanglewood.
Really?
And I was really, I think, happy to leave my hometown. Yeah. I was definitely one of those people. And then I went straight to Oberlin, having never seen it. But I got the biggest scholarship from them, and that's where I went for 2 years. And then I transferred, and in between then, I went to Chautauqua in the summer. Yeah. And that's where I met the teacher who asked me to come to Manhattan School of Music.
Okay.
So, and then, and it took me a while to finish, because I did Broadway while I was going to school. Yeah. And I had to take a lot less courses to be able to do the show.
Were any of your peers involved in Broadway or performances as well?
There was the other guy, Jose Lana. He was actually in the school as well. He was like the lead on Ta as well. So
was your family through all this supportive of you going to all of these different schools?
I think they kind of were just let her do her own thing. Yeah. And it was really... I mean, my father was in the military, and I hadn't seen him for years. Yeah. And, my grandparents were kind of older, and I think they were kind of like, oh, she's doing her music thing. And I've kind of just really pushed on my own to do it, I have to say. But I think it's great when, and they've definitely been, supportive to a certain degree. Yeah. But I think it's great when I see families really, really support their children and really be there for them through all that.
Do you think that you needed that extra drive because you were so young and you were kind of, you had to be independent?
Yeah, I think I definitely the things in your first, whatever amount of years, they say, 5 years, 6 years, definitely molds your personality. And I think that I didn't know what it was going to be, but I know that I was always kind of dancing in front of the mirror and singing. So even though I didn't know I was going to be a singer, it's very funny when I look back and I was always singing on the swing and singing for everybody, and that's what I wound up doing. And I think, and then I found out later on when I met a lot of my family, the Korean side of my family, that a lot of them are musicians, that they're singers and they lead bands and saxophone players. So, it's in your blood and it's in your genes. So it doesn't even matter sometimes if that's how you grow up, that sooner or later, hopefully you're going to find what it is you love.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Korea?
When I was very little, I lived when I was for a couple of years, and I remember a little bit, and I used to speak Korean, and then I lost it when I came here, and then I tried to take classes, and it was just such a difficult language.
Can you say anything now?
Oh, it's like this. I mean, everyone can say like 안녕하세요, like this
little phrases.
감사합니다. But I'm sorry that I lost it because I tried to relearn it. It was just too difficult. Maybe I will again one day.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Broadway for a second. You were in The King and I. Lou Diamond Phillips was also in that production. So what was it like working with him?
Oh, he was great. He was so, what I loved about him, and I won't say it's compared to some of the other stars or people that were in the show, some of them would isolate themselves and go into the dressing room, and you weren't allowed to go and say hello to them, and blah, blah, blah. He was always hanging out with us, picking up all the kids. We would have potlucks in between the meals. I mean, I really became friends with him. And he was just a really charismatic, unique guy, but very kind and very nice. And, I don't think everyone was like that, but I won't say but I can truly say that he was really a great guy.
Did he ever give you any advice?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
just learning from him through.
Yeah, I think, it's like a boot camp. I mean, you're doing 8 shows, 3-hour 8 times. You're just kind of like, your head is kind of spinning, and you get really into, you're working, and you become very disciplined. And I think everyone joked around a lot, and actually he would do a lot of practical jokes, which they didn't appreciate, the directors and stuff. It was funny, I was reading about Ellen with the pizza. I think he sent a pizza. They have one scene where they're watching the ballet. It's like a show within a show. And then he sent a pizza up to the guys in the show, and they were like, and he would do all kinds of things, like writing things on the side and opening a pocket, and you would, it was just... He was a big prankster, so
that's hilarious.
He made a lot of fun.
So the schedule, I know, very hectic, as you said, 8 shows a week. How do you still have time to do classes? I know you said you cut down on a lot of classes, but that still seems like
it was very, very difficult, and I would usually do like a 2-hour class in the morning because you would do a matinee on Saturday. I'm trying to think of what my schedule was, but because you're doing nights, I would take a class like one of the days or something. I really cut down my schedule. I probably took 2 classes or something. They were very good about that. Yeah. And sometimes I couldn't go to that. So that's how I did it.
Yeah.
So
a lot of
balancing. I wouldn't do that again. I look back, I'm like, I would never do that again. I don't know quite what I was thinking, but...
What was the audition process like for The King and I?
It was funny because I heard about the show, and they were looking really for like a 13-year-old or 14-year-old to play Tup Tim. And, but I decided to audition. They said, you're not right for this part. But I remember I kept saying, I'm going to be in this show, and I'm going to play that part.
You put it out into the universe.
It was the third time I went in. They were like, actually, and that's when I got cast.
Really?
And first I was in the chorus, and I was the understudy, Tup Tim, and then she was out so much, and I was playing the part. So I did get to play the role a lot, and I was in that show, and I knew it for a long time.
Yeah.
That's why I think sometimes and no matter what obstacles come, you just kind of go with the flow of the universe and kind of, you know what you're meant to do. So
What did you do when you found out that you officially got the role?
I think I was like screaming, and I think I called my grandmother. I called I called, I remember, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Had you auditioned for other Broadway shows or other performances?
No.
That was the first one that you were in?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the first one. And after that, I needed a break. I don't want to do it for a long time.
Yeah.
So not that if it came up again and the right thing came up now, I think I would love to do it.
Yeah. Was there ever a point when you thought you're going to make Broadway your career?
I think before I went and did it.
You're like, oh, that sounds like fun.
It's kind of, it's like when once you're doing it and then you're like, oh, it's, it's hard to have a life. You really have no life for it. And I was living with the boyfriend at the time, and I remember I never saw him. And it's really hard to juggle both, People who do that for a long time, they sacrifice a lot, personally.
Yeah. And then I know any Broadway show, they always have fans waiting outside, like to meet the people. Did you experience that?
I'm sure. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. People sometimes they would know you specifically, and hopefully they're not some crazy stalker out there, because now everyone knows where you are and they know exactly when you're coming out. But it was a lot of kids, and it's the best feeling. It's the best feeling to be appreciated and to feel like you're doing what you love, and it's a wonderful feeling, and I feel very grateful that I got to do it.
Yeah. They get their playbill signed and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid doing that. Even when I was an adult, I think I saw Danielle Radcliffe and How to Succeed. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to wait outside.
Harry Potter. I would have waited for him too.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. So after Broadway, you moved to Los Angeles, right? What was the deciding factor in that?
Broke up with a boyfriend.
Me too.
I seem to hear this a lot. And I think I had come out, I was actually, I think, testing for a pilot, because I was doing commercials and things like that too. And I remember coming out of LAX and seeing all the palm trees, and it was, I think every person who comes to LA, it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's every person who's seen it for the first time. I don't think they
Especially
ever
if you
forget
lived on the East Coast most of your life.
It's like, oh my God. So,
it
Nirvana.
seems like a different country.
There is something so magical, the smell. I mean, and when I was young, I hadn't traveled a lot. I think if you grow up and you're traveling a lot, but yeah, it was pretty awesome. And I came back a few more times for work, and then I decided I wanted to stay.
Did you know anyone out here in LA at the time?
I actually did. There were people that I had worked with in commercials and different things. Like the girl that I stayed with for a long time, she had done a commercial with me, and I stayed with her while I was looking for a place and met other people, so I was lucky that I knew some people, and it was a lot nicer when you know someone.
Yeah, definitely. What was the transition like when you made the move?
Transition meaning just
was it easy for you? Did you find a place right away? Did you feel like you fit in?
Yeah, you know what? It was easy, meaning that I like anything new. And so it's exciting when you're meeting all new people. And kind of the girl I was staying with knew everybody. So we were out all the time, and in Hollywood.
When you first moved to LA,
I had a lot of fun, and it was great. It was a wonderful transition. Yeah, it was actually a great time.
What neighborhood did you move to when you first?
She was in Hancock Park.
Okay.
And then after that, when I got my own place, I got a room in a house. It was on Citrus, right by Wilshire, where the Starbucks is.
Okay, yeah.
So I was down that street. And it was actually funny because Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson used to live in a house in the corner. I remember Owen Wilson, walking up and down in front of his house, in his, boxers, or I don't know, in the morning, talking on the phone, hey. And Luke Wilson used to sit at Starbucks every day.
You're
really nice. Yeah, it was just very funny. It was a nice street, and I kind of got to know different people on the street. And So it was good.
It's always crazy. I feel like I have friends back home who, when I moved to LA, they're like, oh, do you see any celebrities? And that's a normal occurrence when you live out here. So
yeah, I think
having a Luke and Owen Wilson living across the street seems like normal, actually.
And I think also in New York, I had worked at clubs and stuff too, and had definitely seen a lot of celebrity. And you know, you're just like, yeah, just like you and me.
Yeah. So when you moved out here, you started doing some smaller shows just at the local venues,
I
right?
did a lot of smaller shows.
A lot of them?
A lot of smaller
How many
shows.
nights a week do you think you did shows?
Well, I mean, I was also working as a bartender.
Yeah.
So, you know, I started out, it was slow too because I hadn't ever written any songs, and I didn't know how to play guitar really. So I had to teach myself how to play guitar. I had to start learning songs. I started going to songwriting circles. You know, it wasn't like instant, kind of when people hear it, they go, oh, you did this, and then you did this. I'm like, no, it takes a while, and you got to really practice, and it just took some time. But I started going to all kinds of open mics, and then started doing shows, and small shows, and then bigger and bigger things.
So mostly covers at first, then? Is what you were playing?
Some covers, but no, I started writing my own songs, and they were not very good. But I kept doing it.
What kind of vibe were you going for in your first original songs?
You know, I was such a huge fan of like Joni Mitchell, and really folky. I mean, just like, you know, I just wanted to kind of see what it was like to get up there and actually be able to sing your own words.
Yeah.
Because that was something that had never even really occurred to me to do. And I just decided to try it. And then I started just writing all the time. And I realized, you know, all these years I had always written down thoughts, and I had always kept journals, but I never really thought about writing my own songs. So.
How was it learning guitar? Was that a challenge for you?
It was such a challenge. And well, the funny thing is, I think it would have been less of a challenge if I had, this is for all the novices out there. When you get a guitar, make sure you restring it with strings that are, you know,
Not
the
cheap.
right gauge.
Yeah.
Because I had like steel strings, and I was trying so hard to play them, and I didn't realize they were impossible to
You
play.
got calluses.
Oh
and-
yeah, but I was like, oh my God, there's no way anyone can do this. You really have to just have a lighter gauge, and you have to restring it. So yeah, I was like struggling through playing guitar for a year before I realized like it could be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
Where'd you buy your first guitar from?
Guitar Center.
Really?
Yeah. It was like a $50 Guitar Center. It was not expensive, but now I have a guitar that I love. So,
A nicer one?
1945. Yeah.
Ooh. Fancy.
Gibson that I picked up in Chicago at the Chicago Expo, where they have tons of amazing old guitars, and I had been looking for a really great guitar, and they kept laying different ones in my hand, and I've been just everywhere looking for one, and once I held this guitar, I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
So when you have to find the right fit, you know.
And reading guitar chords is different than reading music that I'm sure you were used to.
Oh yeah, like piano. You
Yeah.
mean like, well, you know, in piano everything is laid out for you, and guitar is just very different. It's just a whole different way of looking at things. I mean, I think it also depends. You know, when I was younger, I had played some piano. It's just what you're used to when you're younger. You know, if you've played a little guitar, that's going to be easier for you later on. So
Yeah,
anyway.
definitely. So you ended up recording your debut album with, I might mispronounce this, Scott Hackworth. And he has worked with Pete Townsend, Iggy Pop, the Ramones, bands that I think you looked up to, right, when you were growing up?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
what did that mean for you to work with him?
Well, I think, you know, it was a pretty, you know, it's a big learning experience. I'm just going to say that. But he, you know, I was very excited about making my first record.
Yeah.
And I probably made every mistake in the book you could make on that first record. So
What are some of the mistakes?
I'm just going to say, I don't even want to get into it. I mean, I probably should, because this is what I'm supposed to be here for, right? So, but, you know, sometimes you give away rights to your music on things that you should, you know, about, especially as an artist, and not necessarily being a good business person. I've become a much better at that because I've had to, but I don't know naturally. No, I'm like, hey, here, take. Yeah, I just made a lot of mistakes, but yet I learned a lot, and it was great to be able to work with him.
I think a lot of artists do that, is they're very eager to, you know, get their music out there, get their name out there, and, you know, you just don't know.
Life is a learning. You just keep learning and learning and learning, and hopefully you don't keep repeating the same mistakes. So,
and your sound has evolved so much over the years, from your first album to Prism.
Yeah, totally.
Why do you think that is? What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think on this record, I attribute a lot to Mark Needham as well. The producer. Yeah. I think my songwriting, you just keep evolving and hopefully getting better, you know. So I think, and I got to work with some wonderful co-writers, and I think that he really, we spent a lot of time in pre-production, and he really took my music and kind of gave it this, you know, grandiose kind of backdrop, or kind of the feel that I wanted my music to be. I wanted it to be a big sound on certain things. I wanted, you know, I had a real vision, and he really listened to me, and he really was able to translate that, and I just thought he did an amazing job.
And I know early on folk was kind of the sound that you were going for, and now it's electro poppy folk. I don't know how to describe it.
Well,
how would you describe it?
I think the songs that I've written were really just kind of, you know, maybe pop rock songs on the record. But I think that we've been lucky now to be working with such amazing remixers that they, you know, have taken some of the songs and remixed it. So it's very cool to see something that I wrote like this, and then Mark Needham takes it and produces it and makes it like this. And then, you know, Promised Land and Baggy Bokovic, they take it and they make certain, you know, so that's the amazing thing about music, is seeing it, one song, across all these genres, and people take your song and put their own spin on it. I love it. It's amazing. I love it.
And for those who don't know, Mark, he has worked with The Killers, Imagine Dragons, Neon Trees, so many great artists.
He's fantastic, and hopefully I'll be working with him again this year. So.
Okay. So how did you get linked up with him originally?
Through my manager, I guess.
Cool. Know? And how long did it take for you to write those songs? And
I would say it took over the course of a year.
Okay.
Because I wrote a lot more songs than are actually on the record, and recorded a lot that actually aren't on there. I just took the best and what I thought fit together. Yeah. You know.
Would you say that your inspiration for music has changed throughout the years as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always you know, the Beatles. Like, I'll love the Beatles no matter what. No matter at the Staples, you know. Saw the Eagles a couple weeks ago at the Forum. They were amazing. But there's so many, you know, amazing musicians out there, and different people that, you know, you get into listening to and that inspire you, you know, like Daft Punk, and then you have, you know, it's like everything keeps evolving and changing, and so. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. Ray LaMontagne, I love. I've always loved Sia. I mean, there's just so many great people right now. So. Yeah.
So going back to when you heard your song on the radio for the first time, how was that? What was that feeling like?
Was I in a store? I think I was in a store, actually. I was in New York, actually, and I heard. What did I hear? I'm trying to think. Anyway, I heard something, and it was amazing. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't jumping up and down, but I was like, wow.
Did it take you a second to realize it was you?
Yeah, I think I was like, wait a minute, I know that song. Wait a minute. So it's always amazing when you are able to, you know, be doing what you want to do.
Yeah. Did you know at that point, when you were hearing songs, that they were going to get radio play?
No, I don't think. And I think when I'm, you know, it's something that I don't really think about that. And, you know, it's after everything's recorded and done, then people are like, oh, that's the radio. So, but I think it's, I mean, I think, some certain people really just write stuff for the radio. I just try to write a good song.
Yeah.
I think that's hard enough to do. Try to write a good song and then see where it takes you, you know? So
what has been your goal for your music? Like, is it just you want to make yourself happy, or is it you want to, share it with millions of people?
Yes, I think both. Yeah. And I think, that's the whole thing with music. And I think we need music in our society. I think people die without music.
Die?
I do. I think they would. I think it would be very sad in this world to not have, I think that is what keeps people going. I know maybe a little dramatic, but I do. I feel that way.
It is an integral part of society and just community in general. You'd be surprised at,
It's just kind of something that's always around us.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just how I feel about art in general. So yeah, as many people as I hope that enjoy it, and yes, and like I'm working on scoring my friend is doing a documentary, so I'm working on scoring a film for him. So I like doing that as well. That's
How's
really
that
interesting. I just started doing it. It's really interesting, and I'm learning a lot.
Different than going into the studio and just recording songs?
Yeah, because you're having to work with a template, something that's already there, and make something that's going to really frame that well. So yeah, very different.
So when you're not writing music, what do you do in your free time?
Take care of my baby.
Yes. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. So thank you so much. So she's definitely and joyously so taking a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with that. So I don't have as much free time as I used to have.
Catch up on sleep.
Before I was pregnant, catch up on sleep. But, I'm also, we have 2 dogs. They're a lot of fun. I'm also an astrologer. So I've always done a lot of astrology. And I don't know, I like to knit. I like to cook. I'm a total homebody. I mean, I like to be at home, for sure. And I go out plenty, but especially, I find that when I'm at home and I'm writing and cooking, I like being in the kitchen and kind of doing that, so.
What are some of your favorite meals to cook?
Let's see. Well, I make, things that are easier, but I make like great, I'm a good baker.
Okay.
So
I love
like
baking too.
Irish soda bread, and I made these great like chocolate blondies, or I can make layer cakes and pies. And I can make, simple things like lasagna and, meatloaf. I mean, that's kind of what I grew up eating, all that kind of food. But
I've noticed that cooking is kind of a rarity in LA. I feel like everyone always eats out.
I think so. I mean, I think people cook, but I think that I think a lot of people, when they eat at home, they're just getting like a rotisserie chicken and they're just getting to go.
It's
and I do
different.
that plenty too, especially now with time. But I love to cook.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy it. I think it's really, and I like to cook with someone. If a friend comes over and she's going to have dinner, or they're going to have, I think it's so much fun. Or we'll make pizza out in the grill, like on the clay thing.
Yeah.
Do you do any of that? Or?
I don't have a grill because my backyard is like a third or a quarter the size of the studio.
Well, what do you
so
like
I'd probably
to make?
burn something down, but okay, so there's this thing called monkey bread pizza that like you make in the oven. It's so good.
Is monkey, it's funny, I just was at a diner, Truxton's, and they had something called monkey bread.
Yeah,
was it like
bread,
garlic?
Monkey bread is actually, it's cinnamon, like dough. It tastes like donuts, like cinnamon donuts. So good, but
I'm a big donut
it's
fan.
the same thing where it's just these dough balls, like pizza dough, and like inside is the cheese and the pepperoni and stuff like that, so it's really good.
Wow, that's really good. It's going to become a food show.
Yes.
We keep talking.
So your daughter, she's 5 months old, as you said.
Yeah.
Obviously, life has changed a lot since having a baby. We were looking at pictures of her before we started taping the interview, and she is absolutely adorable.
Thank you.
So what has it been like, being a mother now?
I think it changes your view on everything, and it just changes your perspective. Like, like even for instance, I was saying to my husband, you know, I love like Criminal Minds and all those kind of shows, and I'm having problems even watching any of those shows if they're about children or anything. Like it's really disturbing to me, and I think that it changes for me after I had a baby. I can't,
the maternal instinct.
Yeah, and I can't watch some really, like, I usually love all kinds of horror, scary, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not as into watching some of that now. So, and I think it makes you really, really, I mean, when you see her smile in the morning and I just hear her, you know, gurgling, it really, it shows you kind of what's important in life. Yeah. It really does. So for me, it's been really great.
When she's old enough, are you going to try to get her involved in music? Is your household now going to be musical?
You know what? I think it's just going to be music is always around her. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm always playing music, either like she'll hear me playing or just, you know, on the stereo. But she, you know, she's always just going to be surrounded by it. So I think she's going to learn music and be singing. She's already singing all the time. And if she wants to do it or take lessons, of course. But I don't think I'll ever push her to do anything. I'll just kind of make everything available to her and see what she likes to do. Yeah. You know.
And you said that she's like the happiest baby in the world, that she's always smiling. So
very lucky. That's why everyone said, don't expect this if you have another one, because they're not all like this. So I was like, I got so lucky. So
yeah. So in addition to your family and your music, you also are involved with philanthropy a lot. We were talking about before this interview, you worked for an animal shelter for a while.
Animal rescue.
Animal rescue.
It was a no-kill rescue.
Okay.
I think working at a shelter would have been so difficult. Yeah.
Why was that important to you to give back?
Well, I think I went into it, I really wanted a dog, and I was in an apartment, and so that's how I started. I was like, well, I'm going to get my doggy fill. I'm going to go work at a rescue and walk dogs at the rescue. And I just started going a little bit at a time, and then I got so attached to all the dogs there, and you get and you know, like they say, giving always benefits the giver more. Like I got so much more out of it. I mean, everyone's like, oh, you're helping the dog. You're like, no, it's helping me. Yeah. I just loved it. Yeah.
So moving forward, I know you said you're working on scoring the documentary, but are you working on any other new music?
Yes, I've been writing lyrics, and then really, going to start writing a lot in the next couple of months.
Okay.
Yeah, I've needed this time to kind of get myself together.
Yeah.
Now I'm feeling a little less sleep deprived. So.
Any inspirations from lullabies?
I don't know. I think you make up all kinds of weird and wacky songs all hours of the morning, just whatever to get her to sleep or whatever, you know.
That's great. So moving forward in your career, what do you hope to accomplish in, musically and in your life?
Let's see. I think being a happy person, and being happy not only with, what I'm doing, but just, but first of all, my family, and just being present and being happy with not just the big things and goals and different things like that, and just appreciating things, keep appreciating things. And, I'm very grateful for everything I have. So that's for sure. So
it's a good answer.
Oh. Like sometimes you ask these questions and they're so like, oh,
it sounds like
goodness.
A really big question. But yeah.
So yeah, being happy.
Cool. So this is our shameless plug section. So anything that you would like to talk about, from your music to website, Twitter, all of that jazz.
I'm going to shamelessly plug Malea Music.
Okay.
Malea music.com. And iTunes, I guess. But yeah, just Malea Music. If you go on there, that's kind of everything you need to do. You need to know. Excuse me. I have a lot of announcements coming soon about shows and different things that we're listing right now. And we're 17 on Billboard, and I know we're on Twitter, Facebook, blah blah blah. Malea music. I don't know. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You can find it all on the website.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
This was so much fun. You can find us, of course, on iTunes. Just type in AfterBuzz TV. You can find all of the Chatting with Cathy podcasts, along with the other millions of shows that AfterBuzz puts on every single week. You can find me on Twitter at Catherine Kelly. You can find AfterBuzz on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV. Thank you so much for coming in again.
Thank you so much.
And until next time, keep the conversation going on Twitter.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.